Has to be said, as a diplomat, you're not really offering much diplomacy, are you?
Lol.
Assalamu alaikum guys, and welcome to another episode of Smile to Jannah. A couple of days ago I saw an interview on Sky News and it actually shocked me. Not because it was Islamophobic, because I mean that sort of stuff doesn't shock me anymore, but it was actually in favour of Muslims and in particular Palestinians. It turns out that Sky News actually did a good job interviewing the Israeli UK ambassador.
Wait a second, I'm not sure everyone is aware of the fact. I'm answering you, what's the political aim behind the violence? People in Israel, the citizens of Israel against Jews. We see them calling for holy and religious war. This is what's happening on the ground. Hamas is using this political crisis, shooting rockets on Tel Aviv. Do you think Tel Aviv is a settlement? Do you think Tel Aviv is a settlement? Do you expect that from a sovereign nation not to protect its citizens? This is what you're basically saying. To put synagogues in fire. This is vandalism against holy sites. Those are things no sovereign country can accept.
Hang on a minute. You replay that last bit.
This is vandalism against holy sites. Those are things no sovereign country can accept.
I don't think she gets the irony of what she's just said. This is not 20-30 years ago where we didn't have social media and just relied on mainstream television. We now have social media. I would say over 80% of the population has seen the images and the videos that have emerged from Al-Aqsa Mosque, and seeing the police, the Israeli police, desecrate the first Qibla of the Muslims, and after Mecca and Medina, the most holiest sites to the Muslims.
Synagogues were under fire yesterday in the heart of Israel. You cannot ignore the fact. You cannot ignore the fact.
I'm not ignoring any facts.
Yes, so she mentions this yet again, and she seems clearly distraught over this. But imagine the Muslims and how we'll be feeling. No, you don't want to be mentioning that. But seeing as she is the Israeli UK ambassador, I would have expected her English not to be as criminal as the occupation that she seems to be defending.
You scallywag. By Britain.
What?
Committing a double war crimes.
You're a joke.
What would you do if Britain was under a fire?
No one can take you seriously after that.
Do you think Britain would have sit in silent? Well, the big disproportional is disproportional.
The interviewer was mega calm throughout the whole interview. In fact, he maintained the same tone even when she was raising her voice and getting triggered. My guy right here was proper on point.
It's a bit rich to say the United Nations should do something when Israel is ignoring what the United Nations has said in the context of settlements.
Can I ask you something? What would you do if Britain was under a fire?
Do you see what I'm saying? And then her response was the classic emotional one. Yeah, that, aunties resort to when you corner them. They go to that whole personal thing, yeah? Let me tell you a story, mate, yeah?
I just spoke to my parents. My mother, over 60 years old woman. I'm a jurist in my background. So they're trying to kill my children, my brothers.
This isn't Middle Eastern television, bruv. You gotta come on point. You can't be just dishing out stories about what's going on in your basement.
They know that the law, as it's currently being applied to the claiming of property in East Jerusalem, is biased against the Palestinians. Basically, they have no rights, and Jewish people do.
You cannot buy this excuse. You're too serious for that.
Yes, thank you. No one cares about Israeli law in an occupied territory. This is what international law constantly tells us, and the human rights organizations that have called Israel an occupying power. Amnesty International, to name one. And did you hear her response?
You cannot buy this excuse. You're too serious for that.
You're too serious for that. What is that? Some sort of Israeli version of the Joker's?
Why so serious?
I mean, who even says that?
And kids cannot go to school and have daily routine because kids are under attack and schools are under attack.
Kids in Gaza can't go to school and they're being killed.
Yes, my guy. Do you see how desperate she is in making Israel seem like the victim? And the only thing that she can present is, the daily routine of the children. Well, in Gaza, the children are being killed. In Israel, they just have to sit in your basement for a couple of hours.
It's Hamas sending the rockets.
It's Israel which is countering with the Air Force, with the strikes, which you acknowledge are in civilian areas because you blame Hamas for using civilians as shields.
Yo, he set the trap, she took the cheese, and then bang, she's in the trap and she doesn't even realize it. He got her to admit on television that Israel is targeting civilians.
What would you do if London was under fire and rockets were thrown on your house? What would you do? Do you think Britain would have sitting silent, not protecting its citizens? Do you expect any sovereign country not to protect its citizens?
Of course you can protect citizens. The question is the retaliation and the attacking of civilians in Gaza and elsewhere, which, as we know, once again is leading to disproportionate suffering on the Palestinians.
Yes, again she resorted to her emotional card. He maneuvered past that very well and went to the main point, which is the disproportionate response of Israel being a military might when Palestine doesn't even have an army.
Do you expect that from a sovereign nation, not to protect its citizens? This is what you're basically saying.
I say people who've been victim of terror attacks, countries who've been victim of terror attacks do not always respond in the way that Israel's responding.
Yes, brilliant response. Definitely one of my favorites because, again, a very emotional thing. She's trying to get him to say, what, we're going to do nothing? Nothing? But he didn't take the bait, mate. He's not taking the bait.
I can tell you that whoever says kill someone, this is the role of the police to take them into prison because this is illegal. But if you're coming back to the provocations...
How many Jewish people have been arrested?
Yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Yes, thank you. He is pushing her. Yeah, he's interrogating her, as is the job of the journalists. But we don't see it as much as we should nowadays.
We've seen the demonstrators on the streets saying, you know, kill the Jews, kill the Arabs.
Actually, it's the Arabs calling kill the Jews. You weren't saying something by mistake.
And also Israeli Jews saying kill the Arabs, get the Arabs out.
She's so desperate that only when the guy slipped and he's on the floor, then she's like, now's my opportunity to kick him. But no. My guy came back and giving credit where credit is due. I'm not going to take that away from her. She obviously does come from an academic background, which she has told us. And let's see some of the academia that she's presented.
Actually, some people say we're being too gentle. Some people say we're being too gentle. As long as our cities are still under fire, we're being probably too gentle.
Oh, some people say, you mean Rainbow Dave who sits outside Tesco with his dog Roscoe? Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. That's a very solid proof right there, huh?
Is Mr. Netanyahu exploiting this political crisis? As we know, he's only the acting Prime Minister because of inconclusive elections. He's worried about losing office because of possible prosecutions he might face, and that whipping up a security situation or allowing a very dangerous security situation to take place may be simply a cynical way of saving himself.
Yo, this was quite a ballsy point, to be honest. Man's not even gonna lie though. Yeah, the politics behind the whole thing is not being covered as much as it should be. I mean, I can go on. Yeah, it was a brilliant interview. I'll leave the link in the description. But as we know, guys, the media, I mean, I can speak for the UK, it has been arming Islamophobes since time immemorial. And now that Islamophobia is structurally and institutionally embedded in our society, now the journalists are speaking out. And of course, seeing the disparity in how Palestinians are being treated in the media and Israelis seen as they're such a giant social media outcry, I don't think the journalists can do the biased reporting that they are used to. But nevertheless, it does prove that they can do balanced reporting if they so choose, and they can interrogate these individuals without fear of reprisal. Let's hope it continues, and let's leave it there. Of course, don't forget to remember your Palestinian brothers and sisters in your prayers. Let's leave it there, guys. Until next time.
Which you acknowledge are in civilian areas because you blame Hamas for using civilians as shields.
Assalamu alaikum.